And I think we're live.
Well,
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us live. My name is Natalie Cunningham. I am our SVP of Marketing here at Data Axle. I am joined by Wayne Thompson, our Chief Product Officer. Thanks for joining me today, Wayne.
happy to be here.
Appreciate it. And we are actually in our brand new office in Omaha, Nebraska. We just had a big opening yesterday, so it was fun to see a lot of the team. But we also have a big announcement today. So we're going to get to that in a moment. But before we get into the big announcement that you all came here to hear, we're going to start with a little bit of context of what's going on in the market, what we're hearing from clients, and why we're making this announcement today. So I have been in go-to-market leadership positions, sales, marketing, RevOps, all of my career, which is probably longer than I care to admit. And one of the things I know that I feel like I've been told for over a decade was that more data was going to solve my problems. More contacts, more accounts, more signals was going to help me get to more revenue. And while I know that data is important, obviously I run marketing at Data Axle, I think for many of us, we still feel overwhelmed, confused, and we're still struggling to get to the intelligence and decisions as quickly as we need to, especially in the age of AI, when marketing teams and sales teams are under more pressure than ever to do more with less and faster. And I think that pressure is showing up for teams of any size. You know, we work with clients from nonprofits and the smallest mom and pop SMB to Fortune 50 brands. And we're hearing some of the same themes from all of them. Wayne, you talk to our clients all the time. What are you hearing?
Well, it's an especially challenging time now because you sort of lay AI on top of the complexity and challenge you just talked about, and it exposes all kinds of new challenges. And I think a lot of what our clients are asking for, if I had to sort of list them out, I'd say, certainly a big one is just better access. Like I want all the data I need to be in a place I can get my hands on so I can actually deliver the value I need to deliver. And so there is this notion of I want it where I want it and I want it how I need it. And that's certainly a big piece of it. I think from my standpoint, a lot of the physical challenges of delivering value out of data comes from the technical part of it. Like, is it connected? Can you go from a business to a contact to a consumer to information about the cars consumers have or the health experience that they have in a way that's easy to traverse? Like that kind of a challenge analytically is quite challenging if you don't have the data structured the right way and linked together. And then I think the third piece is there's an element of workflow and automation and ease of use and sort of repeatability that has to be there, so you can leverage, really leverage it from a process perspective. And I think that's the third piece. And then the fourth piece is sort of the boring part, the quality, like the actual quality of the data you have. And I do think there's sort of this, you mentioned more is better concept. I think when you talk about real use, like real use cases, the way people use data, quality ends up being the thing people rely on. And that's quality of the originating data, it's quality of the derived data, the analytics, and the measurement that you do you have to have a layer of quality in there to support the outcome, or people just don't believe it. And you end up back to we just got to use what we have, and it doesn't really work that well.
Right. It's interesting because you and I just went through this process with Forrester's most recent B2B sales and marketing data provider wave, which we got a leader designation in that. But one of the things, if you read that report, go to our website and check it out, we've got access to the report ungated. You're going to see one of the biggest shifts in the market that the analysts identified is that quality is becoming so much more important. Yes, it might not be the sexiest part, but it's so much more important in the age of AI because quality is that interconnectivity. It's not just accuracy. It is how can you use your data and how can you trust your data is going to be so much more important in an AI first world. And we're seeing that in the market and in the results that we got in that Forrester wave. So you also talk to clients about their use cases a lot. And I know we have quite a few clients in the healthcare space. I know that's one great example, but can you tell me about some of the decision intelligence and the speed to decision use cases that you're seeing with clients today that we're trying to solve?
Sure. There's an interesting way to think about this. You know, a lot of times when you sort of use AI or use analytics to drive to a problem, you can get there one time. And I think the reality of sales and marketing is that a lot of the process that you actually have to build and execute on to support the business are things that you have to run continuously, and they have to be reliable and really sort of get to value quickly. In the healthcare space, as an example, you know, vertical solutions tend to have special data requirements, first of all. So, you know, there's data that's fairly ubiquitous, like business data and consumer data, but pseudonymized healthcare data is complicated and sort of hidden, and you have to sort of find ways to use it that are effective to help solve problems. And being able to sort of traverse that in analytical ways that give you the risk outcomes and the opportunity outcomes that you need is a challenge. And I think the key to being able to do that is really understand the use case, know how to structure the data, and get the right data to deliver that, and have it be something that you can really automate and make happen over and over again.
But so I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here and be the non-technical person in the room. And it looks like our camera has decided that the non-technical person in the room is the most important one. So we'll see if our camera's smart enough to figure it out that we're both chatting here. But you know, what we hear all the time, especially from boards, if you work for a company that's trying to move fast and innovate, the question is always, can't AI just solve that? Couldn't you just put AI in there and solve all of those problems? What I feel like we're hearing from clients that, you know, is frustration because they feel like AI should help them solve their data context, their data accuracy, and their data access problems. But as they're trying to get AI implemented, they're putting agents in place, they're ultimately trading one problem for another and they're frustrated. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, it's interesting when you sort of look at how to solve problems with AI. They actually are very similar to the way you solve a problem without AI. It's sort of what we just walked through in terms of how we.
He's over there. The camera just doesn't want you to be on today.
When you look at how to solve problems with AI, you actually have to still solve the same kinds of problems. The data has to be available. You have to understand the use case. You have to be able to sort of automate the process. But fundamentally, you really have to be able to provide the context of the use case in a way that is repeatable. So AI chooses the easy path. AI chooses maybe what it perceives as the quality path. It chooses sort of the simple, repeatable ways to solve the problem. It actually isn't always right by itself. And so building context around use cases is actually really critical. And I think that sort of fundamental use case of, the fundamental context of the business problem is the things that has to get established, refined, sort of added to, affirmed over time when you deliver on the value. And that's something that you're going to see a lot in sort of how we talk about our products going forward and how we talk about, or how clients talk about their solutions going forward, is that context is going to be critical.
Yeah. I've said this a couple of times, but I'll say it again because I think it's important for our audience. I am not a technical data engineer. I am a marketing leader. I've run sales teams. I've run RevOps functions. A lot of our buyers aren't data engineers. They don't understand the details. So I'm going to try to say back what I feel like I heard from you in my language. You tell me if I heard it right. What I heard was data quality is more important than ever in the age of AI. But it's so much more than the accuracy of your data. It's so much more than even the way I've historically thought of it, of can I trust that this contact is correct and that they still work at this company? Can I trust that it's mapped to the right account? Those things are still important. But the extra layer that becomes even more important as we're creating AI-ready data is that we actually have contextual data and we understand corporate linkages and hierarchies, and that our data has the right infrastructure in place with intentionality for the go-to-market use cases and what we're trying to solve. Did I say that sort of right?
Yeah, you're talking data now, like that's.
Yeah, I'm talking data now. All right, thank you. That's a big compliment from you, Wayne. So a lot of the people that would ultimately want to solve the problems that we're talking about today are going to be a lot like me. They're not going to be overly technical. Even if they run a RevOps function, they're probably not a data engineer. And they still need to get decisions quickly. And they need access to trustworthy data in a way that doesn't require weeks and weeks of coding, that doesn't require specialized skills for everything. And that's really what we're here to help solve. And so with that, no more burying the lead. We're here for a big announcement today. So officially today, Data Axle is introducing our new SignalFuse product. And so Wayne, can you tell me a little bit about what SignalFuse is?
Sure. I think obviously the whole the 10-minute lead into the product tells a lot of the story, but fundamentally, we are delivering all of our data in one platform with a user interface that's easy to use, easy to communicate with. It's Copilot driven. We call the product capability a graph because it's all of our data connected together. So our business data is connected to contacts, connected to consumers, and also to vertically specific data that goes along with it. And so when you put all that together and attach context to it, you really get the ability to be able to ask those questions about who your ICP might be based on a certain market that you're in, or what the specifics of a campaign strategy should be to accomplish a certain business goal, how to define a certain audience around, sort of you get into the end of the quarter and you want to make sure you retain a certain set of consumers you think might be leaving. How do you actually sort of target those and move through the process?
Yeah.
And I think that that capability is set up to be a very straightforward way to engage the platform, but it also provides data quality capabilities, so you can actually run data processing and you merge a new list in, or do something you have to do to add some data to the mix so that you can actually get more information. We're including access of the platform through MCP. So if there are agents asking this question, we can actually provide access that way. And I think
in
the end, trying to open up the ways to access the data, open up the ways to use it, provide use cases around activation and measurement, and make sure that we can actually really drive value in the process.
Yeah, when you first told me about this idea, I was so excited, and I didn't even really understand what it was, but the original concept at the beginning that got me excited was, as the marketing leader, I so often struggle to get to the decisions that I need to get to with confidence at the speed that I know I need to move. I mean, I need to be out ahead of my sales team. I need to be out ahead of the rest of the organization and telling the story and knowing who my audiences are. And I often really have a hard time. I've bought almost every data tool in our market over the years. I've really struggled to get to those answers, and having something that my team could use without having to know specialized skill sets or coding, and actually go in and, like an AI Copilot interface that they're so used to and comfortable with these days, and ask questions in natural language, was incredibly exciting. And I am pretty lucky that I happen to be customer zero here at Data Axle, so we get to use all of the fancy new tools and data before they even come out. And I can tell you, even from early usage for our customer marketing team, one of our products, Sales Genie, we have well over 20,000 customers on that platform, and understanding who our next best customer is with that volume of data, in theory is easy. in practice is really challenging because there's so much information. And so we've been leveraging SignalFuse in the back end to understand who our repeat customers are, who those best long-term value customers are, not just the ones that are most likely to close into a new deal next week, and using that to make smarter, faster decisions about who we're going to target with our next customer lifecycle or customer expansion play. And the early results are really exciting. Of course, we've got dozens more use cases that we're testing out as well. But as somebody that's actually gotten to use it, it has really been transformational for the speed at which we're able to make decisions.
We've been able to demonstrate it to maybe a dozen or so clients over the last 8 weeks or so with their data. So within a day or so, we can take large volumes of their data, combine it with in a platform with our data, create the client-specific solution that's all governed and managed, and let them ask questions. And it's been, ask questions, create audiences, do the things that they have to do to run their business. And literally, it's shortened our time to market from months to days in a way that we almost didn't believe it when we started heading down the path.
It's insane, right? How much it can transform in a short period of time. So with that, obviously we have been talking for a little bit. I want to get to some questions from those that are live with us, because we don't want to keep you from this exciting product any longer. What questions do you have about SignalFuse, about your data? Do we have any questions in the comments?
We do have a question here. We've been looking at tools like this, but our biggest concern is trust. How do we know the answers are accurate and not just AI slop?
Oh man, AI slop, the biggest challenge, I think, for many, especially marketing teams, but certainly it's hitting go-to-market teams across the board. I think we're going to turn the camera towards Wayne on this one. He's the right one.
I think, again, we talked about many of the sort of challenges to having a data platform that actually works in general, and never mind with AI. And I think the same principles apply. Obviously, quality data and a fair understanding of the connection between the different data entities is a really important thing. But in the AI world, context becomes king. Like, context becomes the way you communicate business intent, the way you communicate the sort of intent of the output, and sort of walking the engine through a process of starting big and working your way down. That the engines learn in a way that is a little different, I think, from how people learn about this stuff. And so, but it appreciates business context to be applied all the way through the process. And I think going through the process, a lot of times we know the answers. Like, we sort of logically know the answers, and we guide through that. I think that part of the challenge, at least in my mind, is a big part of it.
Yeah.
But you have to really be able to sort of follow along. You can't just sort of take what comes. You got to pay attention, just like you do if you ask somebody to do analysis for you. You get something back, and it's either right or wrong, and you have to refine it and go through the process. And I think the same thing applies, because what you get isn't really slop. It's just the engine's interpretation of what you asked.
Right.
And so it's
you still need a human in the loop
that
knows the context and the business outcome that you're trying to get to. Like with anything you do.
That's right. When I use ChatGPT, it's the same way. When you use Claude, it's the same way. You have to actually sort of have an expected outcome and you have to be able to follow along to get to that outcome.
Yeah.
And it accelerates the process dramatically of failing, which is the beauty of it.
Yeah. Great question. Got another one?
Yeah, we do. Our sales team currently waits for days for the data they need to prep for renewals. Could they actually get this in minutes with SignalFuse?
Short answer, yes.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to do the thing that you always do and say, it depends on how you set it up, but could they? Absolutely. Yes. Why not?
I mean, we are using, first of all, just if you don't believe it already, all sales teams are already using ChatGPT or something to actually prep for their reviews anyway.
Yeah.
So that's the first reality. But if you can have better context and better data to support it, to support those reviews, you're going to end up with a better outcome. So the idea should be absolutely, sort of use the best data you can get your hands on. And I do believe, from a sales standpoint, better knowledge about your customers, your clients' businesses, what's happening with those businesses, the financial data about, like, all those things help in the process of understanding the client strategies and what they're trying to accomplish. So for sure.
So much. And having data about it, it's one thing to do your own research, and we know account teams do that, but having data to back up that research and that deep context you have from that relationship is only going to make those account relationships stronger. One of the big things we talked about with this product with SignalFuse is it's really just democratizing access to data-driven decisions across the go-to-market. And I can't imagine so far a use case that it doesn't make better, that having better data at your fingertips for any person on the go-to-market isn't going to be a competitive advantage.
Yeah, and having the data and the responses and the strategies that you can talk about every day instead of once a month is actually a real benefit. You can actually really dramatically increase the cycle time of making progress.
Yeah.
And I think in the end, that's the big game. That's the whole
right.
thing. Yeah.
All right, I know we are running low on time because Wayne and I could easily talk about this all day long. Do we have one more question?
Yep, we've got one more. Let's see, what kind of data do we need to have on our side to get value from this? Or can we start with what Data Axle already has?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'll answer from our use case example I gave earlier, and then we'll turn the camera towards Wayne again because we get to talk one at a time on this fun camera we have. But for our use case for Customer Zero, I will say I got a ton of value out of having our in-house data, so our CRM data and from our other internal sources in one place and connected to the power of Data Axle's B2B and B2C connected database, because I can really see the whole human in my buyer profile, but I can also understand how that relates to my current customers and my current prospect audiences. So it's extraordinarily powerful when it is together. And there's absolutely a ton of value without pulling your own data in. You want to talk about those use cases?
Yeah, well, so I'm going to probably say that there is value in Data Axle data alone, for sure.
Yeah.
Because we do bring a lot of vertical specific data that our clients don't have, and we have a lot of data about the market in general. So the sort of big picture stories are definitely something that the platform supports. But most of our clients want the context of their business in the middle of it. And I think it's hard to argue that the closer you can tie at least key entities that support the analyses you're trying to do, you get a better propensity model if you are using your own historical purchasers of your products, or you get a better audience if your good audiences are exposed to the process. So whether they are like in the same environment or not, or shared some other way, it sort of doesn't matter as much. But I think fundamentally thinking about it as one or the other is not really the right way to think about it. It's thinking about what you can accomplish overall and what you're trying to accomplish overall, and make sure you're building the right solution to get there is really in my mind, the big point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to that end, we can talk about this in theory all day long, but you really see the power with your own data, and without it, you see that power when you demo the product. And so for everybody that's live, thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you that are watching this later on recording, we're going to throw a comment in with a link to a landing page where you can learn a lot more about SignalFuse, but more importantly, you can set up that demo so that you can understand how SignalFuse might work in your specific use case and what value it can bring to your teams instantly.